All right, we're going to start off this year with a really simple question. The question is, where are we? Right? Obviously, you're sitting in a classroom, and you're like, that's a really dumb question. But really, let's think about it. You're here, right? You are this yellow dot on this map, Pasadena. But let's talk about where that is. First, you live on a continent. The continent that you live on is North America, and we know that there are 7 continents. Continent is the largest landmass on Earth. Now, the continent you live on, North America, is broken up into many different countries. You'll notice kind of down at the bottom of this map there are lots of little itty-bitty countries, but the 3 big, huge countries in North America that we're going to focus on are going to be Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Obviously, right now you live in the United States. So the United States of America is the country in which you live. In the United States, we've got, count them, 50 different states. A state is a smaller area within a country, and the state that you live in is Texas. Obviously the best state. But you live in a state which is in a country which is on a continent. And within that city, there are hundreds, if not thousands of cities. Actually, there really are literally thousands of cities. But you live in a city called Pasadena. Okay? So, look down at the bottom. We're going to work our way up. The smallest little area that you live in is called a city. The city is Pasadena. Move up one. That city is in a state, which is Texas. Move up one more, and you've got a country, which is the United States of America, and that country is on a continent, continent being North America, and continent we know is the largest landmass on Earth. There are 7 of them, but you live on North America. Just some names that you might have heard of before, some countries you might have heard of: the United States, England, Mexico, Egypt, Brazil, France, Jamaica. All of these are countries. Okay, they might be different sizes, but they've all got their own government. They've all got their own institutions. That's actually a vocabulary word we'll learn about later. You're welcome. But they've all got their own thing going on, but those are going to be countries. Within our country, the United States, we have different states, right? We have different areas. Obviously, we live in Texas. Some of the more popular states among my students are places like New York, California, Florida. Those are some of the states. Like I said earlier, we've got 50 of them. I'm not going to write them all here. And then all over the world, you have smaller areas called cities. Houston, Mexico City, Los Angeles, Paris, London, Moscow, Beijing. All of these places are cities. So you've got countries. Within countries, you've got states. In other countries, they might call them provinces or something like that. But you've got smaller areas called states. And then within those states, you've got real, much smaller areas called cities. And those are going to be where your people are living. Okay, so you've got 7 continents. You've got North America, South America, Europe, Africa. Oops, I did it out of order. Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and Antarctica. A couple things to know. First of all, we'll start with Antarctica because that's the one I'm on. Antarctica's cold. Ain't nobody wants to live there all the time, so nobody does, okay? They have research scientists and research stations down there, but no one lives in Antarctica long term. The whole world has kind of agreed to share it, right? It's like the South Pole, so we're all just going to share it. Australia is going to be the only continent that is also a country, right? They have things like kangaroos and the outback, all kinds of awesome stuff in Australia. If you have seen Finding Nemo, then you know about Australia because that takes place off Australia's Great Barrier Reef. Moving backwards again, we're going to Africa. Africa is a big continent with a lot of different cultures. We kind of lump it all together almost like it's a country, but it's not. You've got a lot of countries with a lot of different cultures. Some of the things that we're going to look at in Africa are going to be Egypt and the ancient civilizations there, the pyramids, life on the Nile River, that kind of thing. We're going to look at racial inequality in South Africa, a system they used to have called apartheid, how that was taken apart, and now they have more equality. We know things aren't always equal and things aren't always peaceful between different groups of people, but they have banned the apartheid system and now have a much greater chance at equality in South Africa. Asia, we're going to talk a lot about China and China's contributions to the world, as far as things like China made gunpowder and fireworks. Like, who knew, right? We're also going to talk about India. India is the world's most populous democracy. So we'll talk about those kinds of things. And of course, the Middle East or Southwest Asia is a huge player in the world as far as a resource that we call oil that's really important to most of the world. Europe kind of led the world in exploration and colonization, which is a good and bad thing. We'll talk about both the pros and cons of that, but that's why a lot of the world speaks English. A lot of the world has had exposure to Christianity because the Europeans were colonizing other places and they took their language and their religion with them when they did that. South America, we're not going to really have a whole lot of time to talk about it this year, unfortunately, but we will talk about things like the Andes Mountains and the Incan civilization that lived there, as well as the Amazon rainforest. And of course, we have North America. It's home, right? We know the United States is a country that's on the continent of North America, as well as Canada and Mexico, and all three of those countries have some great things to offer the world, and we're going to talk about that. Okay? So just a reminder, there are 7 continents, and a little song goes like this: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, Antarctica. There are 7 continents. North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, Antarctica. There are 7 continents. Right, that was terrible, but you're going to remember it. And we've come to my favorite part called Weird But True. Weird But True fact: we may not be where we think we are. And you're like, you just told us where we are. And I know I did. Here's where we are. And this is the normal map projection that we use. But here's the deal. The Earth is round, and we just put it on a flat piece of paper. So it stretches it kind of funny. So you might use this map projection or this map projection. And why not? Like, who says North has to be at the top? Maybe we flip it over. I don't know. We're floating in space, okay? This map projection here is a Pacific-centered map, whereas the other ones are centered on the Atlantic Ocean, right? This is a map from the top, like from the North Pole. Here we are. And this one's just crazy. I don't even remember what this one is called, I'll be honest with you. I looked it up and I don't even remember anymore. So we know we're in Texas, we know we're in the United States, we know we're on North America, but we're all floating in space on the Earth here. So we just might not be where we think we are. That's your Weird But True. Thanks for joining me.